webinar. This is a monthly update webinar for QuickBooks Online related features and ProAdvisor related features. We typically have this once a month, but this is our first webinar for 2019. So we thank you for tuning in with us today. My name is Wayne Daly, and I'm a service and support specialist here in Tucson, Arizona, and I work on the national accounts team providing care for high-value accountants. I have a passion for improving process to save time, and I've been with Intuit for 3.5 years. Quickly to go over the agenda for today, we are going to review CPE information. We're going to look at the learning objectives. I have some accountant resource announcements for you. And then the updates that we have listed here will be discussed briefly. The updates are discussed briefly. The featured topics will be discussed at length. And then we will close the webinar. We are scheduled for 90 minutes today. Today, there is no phone option for dialing into the webinar. I'm going to spend just a couple of minutes on this slide. And while this slide is for those who can't hear me, I'm going to go ahead and cover some information for those who can. You have a question log in your GoToWebinar control panel. Please open that question log, and in there is where you could actually submit your feedback to us about the items that you're viewing in today's webinar. Anything that we're discussing and any feedback you have about that. Your voice helps us make the product better for you and your clients. We want you to be the champion for your clients, and the way that works is we listen to you and we drive for those change. Today's webinar is scheduled for 1.5 hours, which does provide for 1.5 CPE credits. In order to be eligible for the CPE credits, you need to be in the webinar for at least 75 minutes and have answered all 5 poll questions. The CPE certificates are emailed directly to the address that you used to register for this event within 3 weeks of the training date. So you might want to make sure that you check your spam folder if you haven't seen it within 3 weeks. If you don't see it, you can go ahead and send an email to intheknow@intuit.com, and I will go ahead and look into seeing why that has not been received yet. So in order for the CPE credits to have eligibility, we need to discuss learning objectives. So we're going to identify recent updates to QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online, recognize the benefit of the new workers' comp feature in QBO, understand how to locate the desktop certification exam in QBOA, identify advantage of new client list in QBOA, and have the ability to communicate the function of the sales tax feature. This is the slide I'm going to hang out with for a minute. We're going to sit here because this provides you a second option for how to download the handout, which the handout is full of all of the information that we're going to cover today, including clickable links for the resources that the presenters will be discussing. So if you're unable to download or open it from the GoToWebinar control panel, use this link. It's bit.ly/ITK_handout_201901. And I know what you're thinking, 2009-01. Well, that's because technically this is the first In the Know webinar for the 2019 year. We have a redesigned ProAdvisor program that recently rolled out, and there's a lot of questions about that redesigned program. Answers to those questions can be found on the resource that's in the handout. It will direct you to some online resources and give you answers to the questions that you have about recent changes. An additional resource is Accountant University. It offers free training, basic to advanced. It's got webinars, in-person training events, and virtual conference events. I know that says coming in May 2018. That's my fault. That should have said 2019. That resource link is available for you in your handout. I would highly recommend, as an accountant, you go check that resource out. One of the items that we have is the In the Know Hub. It's a web page that's actually in the Intuit community that provides information about the In the Know webinar. It has registration links for the next 2 events. In addition to that, it also provides the ability to view the webinar directly in that hub page. Not only, you don't have to watch the whole thing. If you notice down below, it'll have links to the direct segments. So if you want to review something, or if you happen to miss the webinar, you can go to the hub and view those specific sections that you want to read now or want to view. There's no CPE credit available for reviewing the recorded webinar. CPE credits are only available if you attend live. Links for this are available in your handout. One of the issues that, as I said, I work here in customer success. I do customer support. And one of the issues that had been come up is that some of our features were not behaving in the way they were intended. And we identified that we need you to make sure your address is correct in your program. So in the handout, I have specific detailed steps for how to update the address to ensure that the features that work with QBO don't have any hiccups. Payments, merchant services, payroll, wholesale billing, client apps, automated sales tax, all of that depends on your address being correct in QBO. Now, again, we're going to go ahead and pause here for a moment. For those who cannot hear, I'm still seeing some activity in the question log about I can't hear. So we're going to hang out here, and I'm going to remind you again, we moved pretty quick through those pages. Those pages are available in the handout that is available from the GoToWebinar control panel or through that link that was displayed. And I will display that link again coming up. That question log, as we are talking, that question log is the lifeblood for making sure that us in customer success hear your voice and are ready to take action on what you'd like to see happen in the program. Please provide your feedback through that question log. The presenters will get a copy of those questions. They will get a copy of the feedback, and they love to read your feedback and questions. The first update we're going to have today is on the ProAdvisor program. The 2019 desktop certification is now available, and it's available through the ProAdvisor training tab in QBOA. How you would get that is you would need to log into your QuickBooks Online at qbo.intuit.com. Once you're logged in as an accountant, you come to your landing page, typically displays your clients first. You click on the ProAdvisor link, or you hover over the ProAdvisor, and then you click on training. That will take you into the training page. You would scroll down, and you will see your QuickBooks desktop courses, and then that 2019 list is listed there. It will only be displayed if your firm has a user that's associated to an account that has purchased a ProAdvisor, a desktop ProAdvisor package. If you have any questions about this, please add them to your question log, or go ahead and you can email me at InTheKnow. QuickBooks Online Accountant. There's a new client list. It's been reformatted to make it easier for you to see all of your all your clients in one list. The prior list would display your QBO customers and have bookkeeping and payroll and tax, and it was a little jumbled. What they've done is they've cleaned it up so that you can see your client's name and their email and phone number in one place. Also, their prep for tax and tax returns. Any of the additional items, you would click the drop down just to the right of Edit Client to see all that additional functionality, or click on the Edit Client to view other items that you need to view. A link to this is available in the handout if you need additional. Our first presenter today is going to be discussing QuickBooks Sales Tax with us. Jacob Chappell is a senior product manager, and he's been with Intuit for 5 years. He has a love for problem solving, and he brings that passion to driving and changing QuickBooks Sales Tax for our accountant partners and our small business clients. He's in Mountain View, California. Jacob, thank you for presenting today.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Wayne. So as Wayne said, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the automated sales tax feature within QuickBooks today, and I'm actually just going to jump straight to the QuickBooks account that I've got set up here to show you a little bit about the guts of how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and create an invoice. And this account is already set up for sales tax, but if it was not set up for automated sales tax, you'd actually be able to add the sales tax feature within an invoice or any sales transaction, or within the taxes tab in QuickBooks. Now I'm going to select a customer here. Let's do San Jose and put a couple of items in. We're going to sell a clock, some caramel corn, and some water to wash down that caramel corn. And what you'll notice is that in this bottom right-hand corner, the sales tax is already automatically calculated. And if we wanted any more details on how this was calculated or what it's actually using, we can go ahead and click on sales tax, and it opens up all of these details. So it tells us exactly what agency is being paid. In this case, since I'm shipping from Los Angeles to San Jose, it's California. And it also tells us a little bit about the products that we're selling. So the clock that we're selling, it's got a standard rate. Caramel corn is actually non-taxable in California. And the water bottle, while the water itself is non-taxable, still holds a 5-cent CRV fee. And so all of that is automatically calculated based on the address of the business, as well as the address that the transaction is taking place in, or where it's being shipped to. And so at the end here, we're good to go. And we can go ahead and save this transaction. But before I do that, I wanted to show you a couple other things that can come up when you're calculating sales tax. The first is if you're shipping internationally. Now, right now, we just give you a notification, let you know, hey, you're shipping internationally. Right now, if you're not set up for it and you don't have an international QuickBooks, then you're not collecting any sales tax. Similarly, let's say that I'm shipping somewhere that I haven't shipped before, or that I haven't sold anything, but I know that I do need to collect sales tax here. Now, normally what's going to happen is, since I haven't set up, in this case, Utah, in order to have sales tax calculated, it's going to tell me, hey, I'm not set up for this sale right now, and therefore, we're calculating $0 because we're saying we don't have nexus here. But again, if we click on the sales tax, we can immediately say, oh, you know what, I do actually need to collect sales tax for Utah. So I'm going to say yes, save and continue, and now it's calculating for us again. And we can see that in Utah, these three items actually have slightly different rates than they do in California. And that's the case across many states. There are 60,000 different tax rates. All of them are taken care of with this automated sales tax feature. Now, the last thing I wanted to share is reports. So we're going to go ahead and save and close this invoice. And wanted to share the very new sales tax liability report that is being rolled out as we speak. And with this liability report, what we're able to see is 4 columns. Right now, we're looking at just the year to date. We can see our gross amounts, our non-taxable amounts, our taxable amounts, and the tax that we actually need to pay. This is so that you can utilize this report in order to file your sales tax if you wish to do so manually. You can also, some customers in some states are actually able to e-file their sales tax through QuickBooks itself if you go to the Taxes tab. What you'll notice here is that we've got these gross amounts through not just the state, but the individual agencies, counties, and districts that you may need to notate on the actual filing. And so this is just a brief overview of automated sales tax, and would love to get any questions that anyone may have right now.
Awesome, Jacob. Thank you so much for presenting. We have had some questions. One of the questions that I've seen come up is they have some clients that have not seen the new sales tax. Is there a rollout? What is the rollout plan for our sales tax feature so that all clients will see it?
Great question. So right now, automated sales tax is only supported for customers who are on an accrual basis of accounting. Right now, we are working really diligently to support cash basis as well. And that's something that's going to happen in the next few months. And so that's likely the reason why your client is not able to see it today.
Awesome. Thank you. Another question, are the sales tax rates automatically populated based on the required county, city, or state rates, or do they need to be hard keyed in for each location?
No, they are automatically calculated. This is a great question. So this is what we're super excited about for this feature is if you enter in the specific address that these sales are going to, the rates for the county, the city, any districts in the state involved are automatically calculated using our sales tax engine.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, so if a client selects sales tax on an invoice, the automated sales tax module will inform the client based on the zip code, or do they need to find out if they have a nexus?
So they need to find out if they have Nexus first. And what you'll see is very similar to that last example I showed with Utah. If you haven't set up Nexus, which you can do either from an invoice or from the sales tax center, you'll see that notification at the top of the invoice that says, hey, you're not set up to collect sales tax for this sale. Now, if you don't have Nexus, then you're good to go. You can sell the item and not collect any sales tax. If you do have Nexus in that state, then you can go into that sales tax drawer by clicking that blue link, say, yes, I need to collect sales tax here, and then the rates will populate.
Awesome. Awesome. I have just a couple more quick questions. I've had questions about having the sales tax system calculate city hospitality tax for a restaurant business. Do we have the ability to do that?
Yeah, so there are some other types of receipt taxes that are not directly sales tax that are driven by state or locals, but are actually restaurant taxes, automobile taxes, hospitality taxes. These are things that we're working on including within the engine today. We have some restaurant taxes that we're hoping to get out in the near future and support, but right now not all receipt taxes are captured within the sales tax product, but all sales taxes are.
Perfect, thank you. I do have one last question, Jacob. Does this feature, this module, work with any of the point of sale apps that work with QuickBooks Online?
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about how that integration would work. You're able to bring in sales from point of sale apps that come into QuickBooks. Now, what will happen is if you're already collecting sales tax on those apps, we're going to go ahead and trust whatever is coming in and say, okay, this is the amount. So let's say it was $10 and you charge $1 of tax. But what we'll do is we'll show you, based on the information we have on this transaction, what we think should have been collected. And in some scenarios, those will be the same number. Some scenarios, those will be different. And you'll have the option of saying, okay, yes, I want to go to the calculation provided by QuickBooks. And in the future, you have the option of changing the sales tax in the point of sale systems that you're using.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for presenting today. We're going to go ahead and move into our second poll question. Jacob, this poll question is regarding sales tax, so I do want to thank you again for presenting today as we transition into our poll. Our next presenter is going to be discussing workers' comp through the QuickBooks Online payroll with a new shop by workflow inside of QuickBooks Online. And Sherry Jacobs is going to be presenting with us today. Sherry has been into it for 12 years, and she has a love for travel. She works remotely out of Plano, Texas, and we look forward to hearing what you have for us today. Sherry, thank you for presenting.
Hi, can you guys see my monitor?
We can see your presentation. Thank you, Jerry.
Perfect. Today I'm going to be speaking about workers' comp. It's important to note that workers' comp is currently available to all QuickBooks Online customers with payroll. Many of you may or may not be aware that workers' comp is a state mandate, and I'd love to get your feedback on the question log at the end. Like yourselves, many employers are not aware that workers' comp is a state mandate. It protects businesses from lawsuits and penalties, and employees and contractors from on-the-job injuries. A lot of times, there's a lot of confusion between workers' comp and unemployment law, and they are different. The big benefit of workers' comp within QuickBooks Online payroll is it frees up your cash flow. And the way it does this is we offer something called pay-as-you-go with our insurance broker. And what that does is it takes your premium, your annual premium, and it spreads it across the entire year. So every time you run payroll, you go ahead and get a portion of that taken out versus a large lump sum. So that gives you more cash back in your hands for your business. The other big benefit is it's simply easy and convenient. And what we've done is we've enabled you to go ahead and have your premium taken out of QuickBooks so it runs on autopilot and it becomes extremely easy, especially for you as an accountant when you're doing your audits at the end of the year with your clients. What I'm sharing up here on the screen is the workers' comp landing page. We gave it a makeover. So the way to get to this is once you're logged into QuickBooks Online, payroll, you'd go down to the workers tab on the very left and you'd see the landing page under the workers' comp button on the top. We tried to make you aware that it's important to be compliant and that you can go ahead and set up your workers' comp all within payroll simply by clicking the Get Set Up button. Again, I just want to remind you guys again, today this is only available to QuickBooks Online customers with payroll. It's simple, it's easy, and you can help your clients be compliant by navigating them here. What I want to do is kind of take you through the journey of how you get from get set up all the way to quote and what happens after, so that you have a good understanding of how to explain this entire process and be knowledgeable for your clients. So I mentioned it's very simple and fast, and to get a quote inside QuickBooks Payroll, there's about 5 steps. The first step is self-populated based off of your QuickBooks Online data, and so that you just have to make sure that nothing has changed. Your address, phone number, name is all set. The next step is it'll guide you through and have you identify your type of business or SIC code. This is important because this plays into the quote and into the amount of your premium. The next step is you're going to go ahead and list all your employees, how frequently you pay them, and what role they play as an employee in your organization. And finally is a statement of questions that are really about your business and the operations related. Finally, in your 5th step, you submit and you get an estimated quote. This is an estimated quote, pretty close to what your real quote's going to be, but it is estimated. Finally, you get to a screen where you get this notification, all again within your workers' comp tab, that says 24 to 48 hours later, your quote is now ready. And it's awesome, and we're super excited because you never have to leave QuickBooks Online Payroll. You get to sign within this. If you open the review and e-sign, you can click in, sign it, and it's submitted to the insurance broker. I'm going to go ahead and show you on the next screen what happens after that 24 to 48 hours. Once that's been submitted, your final quote is now inside QuickBooks Online Payroll. It itemizes everything for you. It goes ahead and guides you as to what your rate would be. After you sign, again, within the policy, you're now done. And the done button's there, so you press that. If you have any questions, you can call the broker directly, and you're pretty much done with this step. I hope that you found this really easy and easy to help your clients. If there are any questions, I'm open to all of them right now.
Awesome, Sherry. Thank you so much for presenting today. I do have quite a few questions that seem to be coming up in our chat log. One of the questions, you had said that this is available in 49 of the states. So in 49 states, QuickBooks is available to provide a quote. Is that correct?
That is correct. There are 4 states, so workers' comp is a bit tricky, but there are 4 states where you can't get it through a broker or an insurance provider. You have to go directly to the state.
Okay, very good. And speaking of how tricky it is, one of the or a couple of our listeners are, is it required for owner-operator companies with no other employees? Is workers' comp required for them?
No. If you are an owner or a sub-owner, your husband-wife team, it is not required.
Excellent, thank you. Now, what if you've already got a policy? You can still get a quote through QuickBooks Online, is that correct?
Absolutely. If you have a policy with another provider, you still follow the same steps as I guided you through, and the insurance broker would be able to go ahead and move that policy over
Mhm.
and have it, again, be all part of your payroll setup. So
Excellent.
it's simple and easy.
So going back to one of your prior answers, for states that workers' comp is only offered through the state, those 4 states that you'd mentioned, there's 4 states. If they're in that state, is the tab then going to be hidden in QBO from those users?
Not at this time. We are working to identify that. However, at this time, you'd still go to the setup, and the insurance broker that we associate with would provide that information back to you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And what are those 4 states? Do you happen to know what those 4 states are?
I do not know them at the top of my head,
Awesome.
but I do know that they are 4 states.
Okay. Then we will make sure that we answer that question in the FAQ.
Absolutely.
So please, if you're wondering if you've asked that question, please make sure that you check the FAQ after our event. One more question: do we shop multiple insurance carriers for workers' comp quotes, or do we work primarily with one insurer?
That's a great question. So we have partnered with a trusted broker who goes ahead and is a leading broker that shops the top insurance for your unique business and your business needs. So whether you're manufacturing industry or you're online or you're on web, you have 2 employees or 10 employees, they will go ahead and shop multiple insurance companies to get you the best rate and the best coverage for your business.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, Sherry, I want to thank you again for presenting with us today.
Thank you, Wayne.
That information is very helpful for our accountants. We're getting a lot of great feedback. I'll make sure I get that feedback over to you when the webinar is concluded. Tina's in our Mountain View office. Hi, Tina. I was just still introducing you, that you're in our Mountain View office, and that you're on the QuickBooks Online Advanced team. She has a passion for social impact, and she brings that passion to the work she does for QuickBooks Online Advanced. She's been with Intuit for 3 years. Tina, I want to thank you for presenting today.
Thank you, Wayne. So I'm excited to be here. What I'd like to cover in this first segment is really 3 things: where QBO Advanced fits into the market, who the customer that we're solving for is, as well as some select features in QBO Advanced. So I'd first like to start with the market and how we are fitting into the market. So QBO Advanced was conceived from the idea that there is a huge gap in the market between the likes of QuickBooks and the likes of NetSuite of the world. And so this is the first product that we've launched in QBO in 7 years, the last one being QuickBooks Self-Employed. And this is the exact opposite of that. We are looking to extend the runway for customers to live on QBO Advanced before they move to an enterprise-like solution. And so this is a move into the mid-market. Now, the product vision for this product is that we are growing with our customers as they scale, no matter how complex their business is. And so this has a lot to do with allowing them to delegate work as well as being able to simplify complex workflows. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about who that customer is. So these are some general characteristics of the QBO Advanced customer. It's typically 10 to 100 employees. And then we also have a second group, the power users, who are spending twice the amount of time in QBO. They have twice the amount of data in QBO. And they have more users on average than the typical QBO customer. And so you can really think about this as 2 personas: the power user who is operating in QBO as their center of operations, or who's using QBO as a center of their operations. And the second is a delegator sort of persona, where they're a growing business, they have a lot of employees, and they want to scale by delegating tasks. to their employees. So now that I've talked a little bit about the customer, I like to highlight the differences between QBO Advanced as well as QBO Plus. So QBO Advanced has everything in Plus. It's $150 a month, up to 25 users. It has custom user permissions that are only in QBO Advanced. We also have smart reporting powered by Fathom. We are able to import hundreds of invoices at once through a CSV file, and there is also a Priority Circle membership. The Priority Circle membership is composed of three things. You get a dedicated customer success manager. So this is someone who helps you navigate and troubleshoot your problems through the Intuit network. You also have Priority Care, which when you call into care, we will recognize that you're a Priority Circle member and you're able to skip the line and lower the amount of time that you are queuing. And finally, there is 5 online training classes valued at $2,000 that a QBO Advanced customer has access to on a yearly basis. And of course, we're always working on more features for the customer profile that we mentioned in the slide above. So I'm going to pause here before I dive into the select features to explain a little bit more about some of these features, because I want to mention that there's a test drive. The test drive link for QBO Advanced is in your handout, and it's also in this presentation. So if you wanted to play around with QBO Advanced, that option is open to you. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more about select features. The first feature I like to talk about is custom user permission. So we have launched 5 custom roles. And the idea here in the customer scenario that we're solving for is, as I'm sure you know, a small business who has multiple employees. They probably need help generating invoices or making bank deposits, but they're concerned about giving access away to all of their financials to employees. And so what we've come up with is 5 select roles: sales transactions, expense transactions, sales reports, expense reports, and bank deposits. The user or the small business is able to customize these permissions. Sorry, so I got a message that my GoToMeeting has stopped working, so I'm wondering if people can still see my screen.
We can still see your screen, Tina. It's still
all right.
Broadcasting.
Perfect. I'm gonna put that to the side and hopefully nothing messes up. So the user is able to mix and match these roles and permissions. So that allows you to have 32 unique permutations of these roles. And again, these roles are only in QBO Advanced. Also, the difference between these roles and the roles you might find in QBO Plus is that if you were to select the expense transactions role, then the custom user will only have access to the expense transactions tab. So importing invoices, this allows you to create hundreds of invoice transactions at once by importing a CSV file. The persona that we like to solve for, and this is just one use case and one example, is, for instance, if you have a simple e-commerce store and you're taking your sales in from different channels such as Etsy, via phone or via email, and you're using QuickBooks as your source of truth for your inventory, then we often see customers creating invoices to double track those orders in order to have a consistent view of their inventory across all of these channels. And so instead of having to create an invoice one by one, we've now added a functionality for a customer to import up to 1,000 transaction lines to create hundreds of invoices at once. moving on to the next feature that I am covering, which is smart reporting. So smart reporting is really solving for a desire to see visual reporting in QBO. So we know that our customers spend a lot of time putting high fidelity data into QuickBooks. And we also recognize that we don't do a great job of surfacing insights in a visual manner. And so think about a customer who may be looking for insights to their business. What they need to do today is potentially create a report through the report tab in QBO, download that data, kind of match it up with other pieces of data in Excel to create their own visual charts. Instead, now you have smart reporting, and this is powered by Fathom, which is a third-party app, which allows the customer to easily explore their financial data. So in Fathom, you're able to click into individual pieces of your financial data, understand the breakdown of trends over time, trends compared to last month, understand what different key metrics mean. And if you have multiple QuickBooks files, you're able to consolidate the reporting across these QuickBooks files. And so Fathom actually, if you're in QBO Plus or any other QBO SKU, costs $39 a month. And this is available for QBO Advanced customers at no additional cost. The one thing that I will say about Fathom is it's not a part of the test drive, but we're happy to send out screenshots so that you can see the functionality of Fathom. It's an analysis tool and a reporting tool that creates visual analysis and presentation-ready style reports. So I'm going to pause there. Covered a lot so far, and see if anybody has questions.
Tina, we've had lots of questions, so thanks for pausing with me for a minute. We'll get started. We'll keep going here in a moment. And I just want to go ahead and remind our attendees, or let them know that this is a major undertaking. There's a lot of people on this team. I'm going to go ahead and present questions to Tina. If for any reason she's unable to ask them, if there's another person on her team that's an expert, we will make sure we get those answers to you. So Tina, I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the questions that I have that I've seen quite a bit. As a pro advisor, there's been a few questions about the pro advisors asking if they get use of this product so they can assist their clients in making a choice. Because right now the pro advisors get the plus version as part of their QBOA. Is there any plans of changing that program for our pro advisors?
So I can't commit to a timeline, but that is definitely on our radar. So we will obviously let you guys know when we release such functionality, but that is something on our radar.
Perfect, thank you.
And I would again just note that there is a test drive that you can now play around with. So even if the file that you're working with is not the QBO Advanced file, at least there's a forum for you to explore the features and functionality of QBO Advanced.
Awesome, thank you. And that test drive that Tina's talking about, that link is available in the handout. So it's really important that you take a look at that test drive. If you post a question about, hey, where do I find that test drive? We'll make sure that I get those answers to you out directly, because we didn't include it in the slide. That's my fault, and I'm sorry. So please go ahead and post the question log, and I'll make sure you get a direct link to that. But it is available in the handout. Tina, I just want to get a clarification on the pricing. There's been a few questions about, is this $150 per month per user, or is that up to 25 users that it's $150 per month?
Yeah, great question. It's $150 a month for 25 users, not per user.
Excellent, thank you. Also, a couple of questions about, is there a way to determine if they have the GL counts, how many, the number of accounts that they have that are actually quote unquote chargeable in the client files?
Can someone clarify that question, or I can take it offline?
Yeah, I think maybe we take that offline. I'm going to ask for those that have asked that question about define the number of chargeable accounts. Go ahead and submit that again into your question log, and I'll make sure that we address that with the team. If a client, Tina, if a client moves from Plus to Advanced, can they move back to Plus like you can do the downgrade with other levels of the QuickBooks Online products?
Yes, you're able to downgrade.
Awesome, thank you. Pro advisors that have Advanced to open their client file, can they use the Fathom app in the client file if the client file's in Plus? So if a Pro advisor has an Advanced subscription, can they use that in their client file in Plus?
Yes, so Fathom is accountant ready, and so it is accessible by accountant users as well as admin users.
Okay, excellent. And this is our last question, at least for this segment. Actually, I think we already answered that, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Will our Pro Advisor QBO account have this level of foundation, or do we have to pay for it for our own accounting and billing as well? And I think we addressed that with the first question. So I think we're just going to go ahead. Does that sound like that first question, Tina?
Yep. So now I'm moving on to talk about the revised usage limits for QuickBooks overall, as well as the offerings that we have for wholesale and direct billing. So starting with the revised usage limits, now that we have kind of added to our lineup, we have gone back and revised usage limits for our whole lineup. So there's 3 dimensions that we've really revised on. The first of which is billed users. The thing to note here is unbilled users are still the reports-only users, accountant users, and time tracking users. But for billed users, like we discussed in the last section, we now have 25 users in Advanced, and in Plus, you are now only able to go up to 5 users. The second dimension that we're revising usage limits on is chart of accounts. In QBO Advanced, you're able to have unlimited number of chart of accounts, whereas in Plus, the chart of account limit is now 250. And the last one is around classes and locations. We've added a revised usage limit in Plus of 40 combined classes and locations, and in Advanced, we have unlimited classes and locations. So there's a few important things to note about why we're introducing these usage limits. If you have a client who has exceeded these usage limits, know that they are in the top 5% of usage across all of QBO Online users in the US. And these are, by the way, US only limits. So why we are doing this is we know that there's customers outgrowing QBO today, and we want to make sure that these customers are in a full featured product that meets their needs. We are continuing to develop for the customer target that we mentioned previously, and we'll be updating you with additional functionality going forward. So once these usage limits are in place, there's also a couple of things to note. This is not necessarily going to impact your client. So how will your client be impacted? So QBO will not be locking anybody out of their books or removing any users, classes, locations, or chart of accounts. What we will be doing is we are starting to roll out usage limits in March 2019. If you're currently above any of these usage limits, you are still able to run your business as normal. So for instance, if you have 41 classes and locations, you won't be able to add a new class since 40 is the limit. You would need to either upgrade into QBO Advanced, or you need to remove 2 classes and locations in order to add a new class. So what we're saying is overall, your current usage will not be impacted. However, if you want to add or add a new class or location, add a new chart of accounts, add a new billed user, and you're above the limit, you will need to upgrade, or you need to make those items inactive below the usage limit in order to add any of those new items. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions there, and I'll cover the offers quickly before we tackle the second Q&A. So the offers that we currently have out include wholesale billing. So for from now through the end of May, you have the opportunity to offer your client, your new or existing wholesale billing clients, a 30% off discount for the lifetime of their subscription for QBO Advanced. So that is $105 a month instead of $150 a month. And for the direct billing clients, we are able to offer them a 3-month discount of 60%, so $60 a month for QBO Advanced. And after that 3 months, they will pay the full $150 list price. So those are two offers that we currently have out right now. So I'm going to pause there for questions.
Awesome, Tina. Thank you. I do have some questions, and some of the questions that we've still continued to get questions from the prior segment, so I might mix in a couple of those as well.
Sure.
But I would like to, for clarification on usage limits on the chart of accounts and classes. Now, there's been some questions about what's included in that. Does that include inactive accounts and classes and locations?
No. If you make anything inactive, it will not count towards those usage limits.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Now, I've had a few questions. We have accountants that are using that 5 for 25 deal. Will any company that's part of a 5 for 25 deal be automatically converted to advanced pricing if they have more than 5 users?
So clarification there is that no one will be automatically converted to advanced pricing. However, the usage limits still do apply for the 5 for 5 user, or for that deal, for any of those deals. The clarification that I want to make is still nobody will be forced into a new price. What they will do is they either have to make the choice of actively managing their books below the threshold, or upgrade into QBO Advanced. However, if you have exceeded, so for instance, if you have 50 classes and locations today, you're still able to use those 50 classes and locations as is. You're just not able to replace the 10 classes and locations that you've exceeded with different classes and locations.
Gotcha. So just to expand on this a little bit more, if I have a plus company and I have, approximately 350 accounts in my chart of accounts, moving forward, I'm okay to stay at 350 accounts until if I need to add 351, then it's going to need to be upgraded to advanced. If I inactivate one of those accounts, that means I'm now at 349. I can't put another 350 in there. I can't add any new accounts. It's not a hard and fast line. Is that correct?
That's correct. So if you wanted to add a new account without upgrading to advanced, you would need to manage your 350 accounts down to 249 in order to add a new account. However, you can continue using the current levels that you're using QBO plus if you're not changing any of your current usage.
Perfect. Okay. And on the classes, do subclasses count towards the limit? So if I have 200, excuse me, if I have 100 classes and I add a subclass, is that considered 101 classes in QBO?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Perfect. And now, just for clarification, if we could, I would like to go over, and I've had quite a few questions about when this rollout, when this is going to be live, when people can start expecting to see the pop-ups about these changes in usage.
Yep. So what we are doing right now in February is we are sending out notices so that everyone is aware that these usage limits are coming into play. The enforcement time actually isn't until later in after April. And so that's around when the enforcement will be going into effect. But we will be notifying everyone and just ensuring that everyone is aware that this is happening between now and then.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just looking for other questions. I want to make sure that we've covered everything we can while we have you here, Tina. Give me 1 second.
Yes, of course. And one thing I do want to mention is I know that there's some concern around nonprofit clients.
Yes.
And what we're trying to do right now is we're researching an idea with TechSoup based on the nonprofit base that they serve. And so we're aware that that is a concern, and that is something that we're looking into.
Excellent. Thank you. I was just looking at the question that I saw that you were answering, so that's awesome. So I do want to clarify. I know that you discussed it and we talked about it one time, but I'm going to ask you about it one more time because the question, how does one drop below a certain number? QBO, we're stuck on the idea that QBO doesn't really delete any accounts. It just marks them inactive. So for clarification, if we could talk about the difference between removing and making inactive for these usage limits, if we could address that one more time.
Yes. So again, I think the key message is if you're above any of these usage limits, you will still be able to use your QuickBooks at your exceeded limits as is. We will not be doing anything automatic for you. It's when you are looking to add additional users, classes, or locations, or chart of accounts that you would need to make a decision on either managing your books or upgrading into QBO Advanced. In QuickBooks, if you delete anything, we don't actually remove anything. We make all of those things inactive. And so any inactive accounts, so anything that you are trying to delete, does not count towards those usage limits. So for instance, if you have 251 chart of accounts and you make one of those accounts inactive, you're still at the threshold. Or you will not be, I guess, you will not be exceeding the threshold then, is what I'm trying to say.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I know this is a very confusing topic.
Yeah, just to make it simple, inactive basically means non-chargeable. If it's inactive, it's basically not chargeable according to usage limits. Would that be right?
That's correct. And we will not be automatically making anything inactive.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, there was some pricing. There was some questions about, looks like after May 2019, no wholesale discount will be available at this point. I feel that, it's at this point, the current offering is only available until May. There may be additional offerings. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, so I will say there will be a continued wholesale billing offer. The current offer through the end of May is that the wholesale billing offer is extended for the life of the subscription. I think what we're saying is after May, there could be a change to what the wholesale billing offer is, but we will continue having a wholesale billing offer.
Excellent, thank you. There was one question I do want to make sure I address. Does the inactive class mean that the activity will be deleted? As a care representative, and Tina will make sure she'll align with this, that activity does not get deleted. None of your transactions
Nope.
get changed if you mark something inactive. Is that correct, Tina?
That's correct. When you delete anything in QBO, we mark it as inactive. The data is still there because it's still affecting previous versions or historical accounts of your books. So the data will always be there. We're just marking it as inactive. So for instance, you wouldn't necessarily be able to assign transactions to that inactive class or location in the future. But you could make it active again later on.
Excellent. Thank you. Tina, I'm gonna go ahead and say thank you at this point. I know that you've been with us for quite a while and you've given us a lot of information, and questions are continuing to come in. I'm going to go ahead and get this question log over to you as soon as the webinar concludes. But I would like to say thank you, and I'm going to go ahead and post that number 5 poll question at this point.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We'd like to also, once again, thank you for attending today. These are just some of the resources that we discussed today. The Accountant's Help Hub, the Accountant Blog, they weren't really highlighted, but those links are available to you because they contain a lot of important information. That Accountant Blog is actually Firm of the Future, which is taken care of by our training team. A lot of the information that you see here today and additional information will be available to there. I would be remiss if I didn't encourage you to go visit that website to review some of the additional content that is available for you. The next webinar is going to be on February 28th. And that link to register for that event is available in that handout. If you download that, the link is there, or it's available to you at the In the Know Hub page. You can find either of those there, or if you cannot find that, remember intheknow@intuit.com. Send me an email saying, hey, I can't register for this event, and I will make sure to send you a link for that event. Now, I have 60 seconds left to make sure that we get to 1:15 to make that 75-minute mark for our event today. So I'm going to take this last 50 seconds to say thank you as a customer success agent and a member of the National Accounts team. We love to serve our accountants, and your voice is very important to us. So in that handout, there's also a link for you to provide feedback through the Feedback Center. You have feedback through your gear within your QBO program. If you click gear and submit feedback, you can send an email to In the Know about any of the events that you've seen discussed today. But I will not close the webinar probably for another at least 5 minutes. You can continue to post questions in that question log even after I've stopped talking. So at this point, we are going to conclude. I'm going to say thank you for attending today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you or delivering information to you again on February 28th. Thank you.